What is going on YouTube? Friday night, thinking about running around town, making a mess of myself, and I decided against it, and I'm going to hang out here and talk about the news with you. End of the week, just kind of rolling up all the stories, haven't had much time to put out anything, but I did have a lot of time to read the news, sitting in the back of a class, training, if you will, and hearing someone talk in one ear and reading everything else, not really paying attention. So let's get into it. I got a couple tabs open. I'm going to talk about some employment numbers, what's going on with those. We're going to talk about Kamala Harris. She's getting some really awesome endorsements that she may or may not be happy about, but nonetheless, that will be one more vote in the ballot box, apparently. Talk about what's going on in Texas and some more polling. From Zero Hedge, why this is not the biggest story, this is according to the article, why this is not the biggest story of this year is yet to be understood. I think this is a great talking point for Donald Trump and most people on the right. If you are on the left, you do not want to talk about this at all. You do not want to bring this up at a union rally. You do not want to bring this up in front of anybody, really, because this really does kind of shit on everything that you like to put out there as a positive thing. Great replacement job shock. Here's the deal. Great replacement theory came around. It was kind of started talking about by the Democratic Party over the last decade. Slowly but surely, you would bring in people who are going to tend to vote a certain way. At least that was the thought process. Now, the Rio Grande Valley has kind of possibly took some wind out of those sails. But overall, that was the idea. Republicans caught on. Republicans started talking about it. And as soon as they did, it was the most hateful, racist, malevolent thing you could ever say. Right? It was very Hitler-esque. I'm sure someone got called Hitler. I'm sure Trump got called Hitler. So at that point, everyone's, you can't talk about it. Well, okay, fine. I don't agree with that, and I will not submit to that. However, one thing I will talk about is the Great Replacement job shock. Now, this is from Zero Hedge. I think it's an absolutely great article with, of course, some ex-posts put up in here. You know how they do it. 1.3 million native-born Americans just lost their job, replaced by 635,000 immigrants. Now, I have a couple other things to say about the job numbers, and I have them on other tabs. But at the start of the year, many months after we first pointed out, the biggest untold story of the U.S. labor market was the great replacement of native-born workers with foreign-born workers. Most of them, whom we subsequently learned, were illegal aliens. They were illegal aliens, and they got legalized or they got working visas of some kind. It doesn't, this article, we'll scroll down, see if it dives into it more specifically. That is the ongoing replacement of U.S. workers. Not the biggest political talking point now, but since October 2019, native-born U.S. workers have lost 1.4 million jobs. Over the same period, foreign-born workers have gained 3 million jobs. Okay, so you can see the divergence. And this is, this is kind of graphed out here in this map. Let's click on it. Let's go straight to X and this account. Yep, I'm following that. Just wanted to make sure. Let's zoom in so y'all can try to see this. Oh, they have the worst zoom, but that is right there. That is October of 2019, it looks like. And you can see foreign-born is the green line and native is the red line. Okay, so we do see that we are climbing and climbing and climbing. Now, here was my question about this whole thing. Whoa, I'm zoomed in way too much there. Okay. Our relentless efforts have brought attention to the critical topic finally being worked. Continued replacement of native-born workers with immigrants and illegal aliens was finally the biggest political and media talking point. Now, if you remember, oh, illegals can't take your jobs. That's not going to happen. Well, really? Well, ask Tyson Chicken, because they were running illegal aliens through tons of their chicken shops. I believe it was Alabama. It could have been Mississippi. Could be me misspeaking, but nonetheless, the FBI did finally do something that was good and did a raid on there, and they were employing hundreds of illegal aliens in those chicken farms. Now, what did that do for locals? No, the factories and the chicken farms didn't shut down. No, those people got deported or arrested, probably caught and then released is probably actually what happened. But no, locals got to go back to work. Locals now didn't have to compete with labor that was willing to work at a cheaper rate because it was so much more and better than where those people are coming from, right? And from where they're coming from and who they are and everything, I agree with what they were doing. However, I don't care about them. I care about Americans, right? And so if you're a male from, let's say you're from Mexico, okay, or any South American country, but really they're coming from all over now. They're coming from Africa, they're coming from the Middle East, they're coming from India and China at an alarming rate, although I think most of those people are actual military personnel, but we will talk about that one day. If you are here by yourself and you're willing to rent a bunk in a rent house, which there are hundreds, possibly thousands of them, let's just say in the DFW area, if you're willing to rent a bunk at a very cheap rate and work at a cheaper rate than anybody in this area, you're going to get hired and you're going to send your money through remittances back to your country. Okay? Ask Walmart. They are the biggest transfers of funds in the world. Okay? And they are getting tracked. However, who is sending them and who is receiving them? Apparently, they say that they have a big anti-fraud thing. I don't think that they have much anti-fraud. I think they just randomly select people to hold their money. They still have $700 of mine. That is, you're never getting it back. They're just holding it, and eventually it will dwindle down to zero, and all that money will be theirs. I digress, though. Which comes down to the following. You have a record high illegal immigration, or this is a statement from Chairman Colin Powell, or Chairman Powell. So they're talking about these two options that they're essentially putting in front of you. This is kind of not a fair argument. And what they are saying is this. Illegal immigration is reshaping our economy. Every day or week, you have thousands of the boomer generation retiring. That is a fact. They should be leaving the workforce, but a lot of them don't because cost of living or career, whatever, they don't want to leave. They don't want to leave their positions. However, as they retire, right, who's going to fill those positions? If there's less people in the workforce, job income is going to go up, which really is not that bad of a thing if you think about it. We want more raises, okay? People want upward mobility. But from where the Federal Reserve is sitting, their job is to limit inflation to 2%. So in their mind, you can either have illegal immigration or you can have breakneck inflation. And that is their offer to you. So you can have Venezuelan murders in your neighborhood if you know what's good for you. And if you want to keep prices low, the same prices which are already high because the government decided to inject $20 trillion of physical stimulus in the last 4 years. And that was, before I even read that, before I started this thing, that was my first time. I was like, well, inflation's still crazy high. And that's because the federal government just keeps spending. So they're saying they're giving you this option. Well, you can either have illegal immigration or low inflation. Which one do you want? And you're like, oh, well, they're telling us that these are not bad people and, everything should be fine and they're not overrunning our schools and they're not, clogging up all ERs and everything like that. No, no, everything's bad. I guess I'll low inflation. Yeah, I'll take that one. Thank you. Okay, cool. Well, we want low inflation, but the guys across the street over there at the Treasury and Congress and everything. I mean, they're just gonna keep spending. They're gonna always spend every dollar that they get, and then they're gonna spend every single dollar that they feel they can get away with. There has only been one time when they have never done that. There's been one president that has left office with a smaller budget than when he came in. Okay? And if Kamala Harris wins, we can say he or she. So that way we're woke, because that is important. Okay? I would start laughing, but I know the sound would just be absolutely freaking terrible. Do the hyena laugh. Let's keep scrolling down here and seeing what else we got on this thing. It's the same information pretty much, just different charts. One's a line graph, one's a pie graph, one's a bar graph going this way, the other one's a bar graph going that way. Okay, starting at the top, while the number of employment workers did rise by 168, look closely at the composition of the increase is disastrous. That's because it consists of an increase of 527 part-time jobs offset by a 438K plunge in full-time jobs. That is not good. That is not good. And everyone knows that. The media knows that. The president knows that. Kamala knows that. That if you're losing full-time salary or just full-time jobs, let's say, full-time jobs, that what it is showing is that companies aren't prepared to have people around full-time. They want part-time, adjustable hours. Most of these are going to be second gigs. So these are mostly people just trying to hold on, just trying to keep their level of income so they don't have to change their lifestyle. Which, by the way, me too. I'm definitely in that basket. This means that since June, the U.S. has added over 2 million part-time jobs and lost over 1.5 full-time jobs. So we're net 527 jobs, roughly. Just depends on the timeline that you're looking at, okay? So you go ahead and make the decision for yourself on if that's good or bad. Do we want everyone to have a part-time job? And I don't think this is because the Bernie Sanders style, let's give everyone 30 hours a week, 4 days work week, part-time job setup. No, this is the companies like, hey, we're no longer giving you 40 hours. You get 30 or 28 or 32 or whatever it is. And you're just saying, they're like, well, fuck, man. Like, I need 45, really, or 50. Okay, and there's plenty of people out there that need that, including myself, and that's what makes this whole thing just very frustrating. That it just seems like it doesn't fucking matter how hard you work. It doesn't seem to matter anything that you do. There's just constantly roadblocks from situations that you did not create. This is not the people out here just existing, minding our own lives, that are creating this shit. Most of us didn't even ask for the stimulus checks. And now we all took them, including me, but like mine showed up like 10 months late. Like when that whole thing, all of a sudden, like 10 months later, I was like, oh, I guess we're not getting them. I don't know. I mean, I guess our income from last year was too high or something. I have no idea. 10 months later, which I don't know why the fuck it would matter at that point. Your rent you'd already been kicked out of wherever you were living or in foreclosure. So I don't know why that would have mattered. However, this is just one step in the constant decline and unraveling of this whole fucking thing. Let me keep reading. An absolute shocker of the data point in the past month, the U.S. has added 630K foreign-born workers, and we've been losing 1.325 million native-born workers. This was tied for the biggest one-month drop in native-born workers since COVID crash. But it's not just the past month, or two, or three. As regular readers know, the reason why suddenly we are bombarded with media pitches on why illegal immigration or illegal immigrants, sorry, are actually great for you. This is the US. That the US is not created a single job for native born workers since July 2018. And in the interval has created 4.5 million jobs for immigrants, both legal and illegal. And anyone tells you that an illegal immigrant is not taking your job, they're not affecting your income, they're not affecting your rent rates, they're not affecting anything in your life. I just want to let you know, you don't have to believe me, but I'm going to tell you, and you can take it or not, that person is a fucking liar. There is no possible way. For sure as fuck the rent. There's only so many houses, and where are these people staying? Okay? They're not staying indefinitely in hotels. Okay? That's not what is going on. Okay? They're living somewhere, i.e. there's less places to rent and or buy. And if there was less renters, being a landlord would be not as sexy because your cash flow would be lower because there's less renters, i.e. they'd probably sell a house. They'd sell that rent house. This right here is really troubling. It's kind of like when you're growing up and you're a man and you say, I want to have a family, and I want to have a wife and I want to take care of my family and I want to work a full-time job and even do some overtime and take my family on vacation and do all these things. If that's the pitch, right? If that's the pitch, the government needs to create an environment in which that is available, right? That really is one of the most dangerous situations that is facing our culture today is the lack of upward mobility, especially for young men. There are a lot of young men that are absolutely just desperate. They don't get any women. They don't have any money. They don't have any prospects for either of those things. You can go ahead and look in history. Let's start with the Vikings. The Vikings weren't a bunch of like macho men that were like, they were tens and had big chests and they were 6 feet tall and like all the women wanted them. No, those were incels. Those were men that could not find women to mate with and marry in their own countries. So they decided to go elsewhere and in a very violent way. There's plenty of examples of that as well. I guess you can go, the next one, you could go with the conquistadors. Okay? Those boats were full of single men, okay, that had no upward mobility or hope inside of Spain. And so they said, okay, let's go over here and get wild. So let's move on to the next one here. Let's close that. This is a follow-up to this, by the way. So every month they come out, and these numbers are always bullshit. Again, it's a science of data and a range of numbers that they're trying to find. This isn't like an exact number. So I understand that, and I do take it with a grain of salt. Just like this last comment that I had read about losing the number of jobs in the last month, that is an average number. So it's plus and minus the sums. Non-farm payroll growth revised down by 18,000 jobs. Non-farm payroll growth revised down by 818,000 jobs. Okay, that's really bad. The biggest downward reversion came in professional and business services, where job growth by 358,000 less. Okay, so professional and business services. So you're talking about some of the highest paid sectors, roughly, probably behind tech or something like that, is the biggest chunk of that. So you have some of the, I would say at this point, really what a kind of a job that you would need to be considered middle class. had the biggest revision down. Now, here's the thing. They've been pumping the numbers all year. All year, they've been consistently high. Now we're getting to this point, like, well, we got to revise them down. So this number that came out of they added 143,000 or whatever it was. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. They added like 120 or something like that. Never forget that. These numbers, again, they're in a range. At the sector level, the biggest downward revision came in professional business service where job growth. I told you that 358,000. Other revised areas, leisure and hospitality. People are not traveling as much. They're not going to Vegas as much. Manufacturing, 115,000. Trade, transportation, utilities. That's not good news. Oh, sorry. Okay, I actually don't care about talking about stocks, like at all. Trump did it all the time. Every time the stock market went up, he would talk about it. When it went down, no word about it. And the other side would do just the inverse. Okay, so, if the Democrats are actually really good about this, because, they have the mainstream media on their side, but, when the stocks fall, like, yeah, because we're putting regulations and pressure on them to blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, they're giving me $300 million for my campaign. Yeah, right. I know you're not doing anything that they don't fucking want you to do. That's fine. That's fine. Get your bag, girl. Get your bag. It's Brat Summer. This is kind of pointless, but I will say that it is probably a leading indicator on what people are thinking. However, there's a lot of speculation, manipulation, and anybody that thinks that they're going to outsmart the fat cats on Wall Street. I know, I talk to people like, oh, I day trade. Oh, I do this. I do that. I'm like, bro, I'm going to ask you in a year what you're doing. And I guarantee it's not going to be that because you're not going to have any money, right? You're not going to have any money because you're fucking with it too much. But I guess The Wolf of Wall Street is a really cool movie. So, they called it Kamala Carnage, and that happened again a little while ago, or that happened before a little while ago. These things are going to move up and down. But it is funny as her economic policy, I guess you could call it, but we really don't know if it's her policy or not because only sections of it are leaking out. And she has Mark Cuban going on CNBC to talk about it, which was a very, very funny interview where, man, he did not like that. They asked him some fairly tough questions. It's 6 minutes long, but I'm going to skip through it. Didn't have this set up, but now that I'm talking about it, I really want to listen to it. Okay. Let's see. Oh, watch now.
We got a special guest joining us by phone right now. Talk about the Harris tax plan. Dallas Mavericks owner, investor, Mark Cuban. Mark, it's great to have you on the program. I know you've been outspoken on Twitter and X on this issue, and I'm glad you're going to hopefully be outspoken right here on Squawk about this particular plan. I'm curious both what your take is on the tax plan itself as it relates to capital gains, what you've been hearing from other entrepreneurs and investors, and then maybe we can get into some of the debate about unrealized gains as well.
Sure. Well, let me talk about the process, because I think that's the most important. What do you think is the best approach? What's the best approach to taxing the wealthy and increasing revenues and cutting costs for that matter?
So what did you tell them originally?
A year, they're paying 24% to end up with a two handle. 50% is not right. And again,
Mark, a lot of folks have come on our broadcast who are critical of the vice president and her campaign have suggested that she's a progressive and that she is going to operate very similarly to Biden, or in some cases, people have suggested she's going to operate even to more to the left of Biden as it relates to regulation, potentially taxes, other things really happening here.
Kamala Harris is pro-business. She's trying not to directly contradict him in any way, helping them have north.
So to the extent
literally, she listens, right? The entrepreneur, you invest, go through and stay out of colleges. Exactly. The people.
What are the kinds of people you think she's ultimately going to appoint to her cabinet? And I think one of the critiques has been that the Biden administration did not surround itself with.
I've strongly suggested that those types of business people to medium-sized.
Okay, well, this isn't the one that I heard earlier, so I don't know. But essentially, they push him on, hey, why would she tell you part of the tax plan? They're pushing on her, why doesn't she just release the whole tax plan? We're under 60 days out from the presidential debate, the election, the damn election. And we don't know anything. And I'm still wondering. Let's see if there's anything Kamala. There it is. Kamala Harris. Have they put any policies on their website? You can give them money. I want your money. Nope. Nothing. No policies. No policies. There's no policies there. And that's what they're pushing them on. And they say, hey, Mark, she's calling you up privately and telling you one thing. What would stop her from calling up someone else and telling them something different? And he's like, no. She's blah, blah, blah. She's trying to get a plan together. It has to be complete. So right in that statement, they don't have a plan. They don't have a plan. They're still getting it together. That's why she's looking for endorsements. And she got 2 today. 2 great endorsements. One from Dick Cheney is voting for Kamala Harris. Liz Cheney is as well. Oh my gosh, the power couple of Dick Cheney. Now, let's not forget about old Dick, all right? Dick Cheney is somebody that, everyone can pretty much look up to. Ran us right into war. Ran us right in to Afghanistan and Iraq. Convinced the stooge himself, not this guy. Where are we at? Where's George Bush? There it is, right there. Now watch this drive. And let's see, made millions of dollars doing it, by the way. Right? This guy is absolutely hated by the current Republican Party. So he really has nowhere to go. I think that if he actually marked Donald Trump, his ballot would burst into flames. That's the power of the hate that the right now has for him. And as they should, and especially this lady as well. She was one of the only Republicans on the bullshit January 6th committee, which turned out to be massive waves of lies. And the mainstream media tried to hold that up and was like interrupting golf and shit. And people, they got less viewers when they turned it on from golf. People were like, no, I'm not watching this. That's that bad. Tons of lies, tons of manipulation in that. Would love to bring some of those people back into Congress under oath and get them absolutely fucking wrecked from their lies. And she lost her primary big time. So that's really good. So that taught her a lesson. Oh my gosh, there was another dude on that board who also lost his primary. Can't think about it. Okay, cool. So let's see who else is going to be voting for Kamala Harris. Probably people that are illegal. Texas transparency in removing non-U.S. citizens remains murky. Okay, let's read this article by Ian Camacho. The Secretary of State recently claimed that Texas leads the way against non-citizen voting. Okay, so this group went through voter rolls, and they're continuing to go through voter rolls, and what they have found in every county, it's pretty much separated by counties. Okay? And that's kind of how the elections are ran. That's how the data is stored, and that's how the processes are kind of more or less picked, right? And so what you have to do is you have to go county by county. And if you pull a large list like, Tarrant County, like I did 2 years ago, and you go through and you're looking for deaths, and then you got to find the obituaries, and then you have to look at the tax rolls, and you have to see when the forms were transferred, and it is quite a bit of data. Now you get this data and you lay it all out on a spreadsheet, and you have the links and everything that you send to the Secretary of State, and the Secretary of State doesn't do shit. They don't do anything. the amount of work that you have to do and follow up with the Secretary of State to get one person removed from the voter rolls is really tough. But slowly and surely, it will happen. These voter rolls will get cleaned up. And we're finding these people are actually voting sometimes as well. So you have to be careful when you're reading these things. The audit also claimed 2,049 voter records had been canceled for failure to respond to a notice from the county voter registrar requesting documentation for proof of citizenship. So they were registered, something popped back, and they needed to bring in proof of citizenship, and they didn't. 2,049 people. Now, were all those people illegal? We don't know because they never responded. Okay? Getting registered to vote and voting in Texas or really any state is easy as hell. So I see these, oh my gosh, it's a barrier to entry. It's this, is that. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's one sheet of paper. It's like that big to fill out. You give it back to the voter registrar or you drop it in the mail. It's already paid for. It's going to go right back to the county for them to register you to vote. And then you show up with an ID of some type. And they have like 6 primary things called the A list, and then they have a B list, and then they have what we can get you a different type of ballot. We can get you a special ballot where we don't put it in the tabulation machine or drop box. We put it in a special Ziploc bag and we take it to the county for them to count afterwards. So tell them like the thought that, oh my gosh, that you can't vote. It's so hard to register to vote. That's all bullshit. It's too easy to vote. That's the truth. It is too easy to register to vote. It's too easy to vote in most places. Now, I'm sure you can find somewhere where it's tough to vote. But realistically, anyone that has even the slightest level of motivation, and I think that's what the thing is about this whole thing, is that a lot of people just feel like they should just wake up one morning and blink twice, and that's how you vote. You need to get off your ass, and you need to go and vote. You need to go wait in line at the polling station. It doesn't take long. There's a bunch of polling stations, and we have almost a month in some of these states to vote. Anyways, I digress. Likewise, the audit report shows 1,628 felons removed, while CTR shows 1,646 felons removed from November 2020 to 2021, presuming even higher when added with the weeks. Okay, cool. So they're removing felons. I don't know the particulars on the felons. I don't know. I feel if you're a felon and you served your time, you should be able to vote. That's my personal into it, and I think it is too. You can register to vote or vote if you've served your time and you're not. It's not written out in your sentencing that you're never allowed to vote again. All right, let's see. So, anyways, these people are putting in the work. The Secretary of State told Texas Scorecard that Texas has 18,284,743 registered voters as of August 1st. Texas added 1,737,044 voters between March 2020 and March 2024. It also removed 4,097,297 voters during that period. Okay, cool. So they're removing a lot of people. Texas spent 2.1 million registered, roughly 12% by March 2024, more than double its 969,000 listed in January 2022. So I think I said this on another video, man. Look, the Republican ground game is getting better. Now there's a lot of focus on this, on removing people from the rolls. I get the case of like them not being on the rolls. I would like to see how many of those people are actually voting too. That's the follow through. But yeah, the Republican Party is alive and well. It's going to continue to grow. A lot more young people are stepping in to do things, especially like Ian Camacho doing this work. But I think there might be a little too much emphasis on this to the point of almost like, well, if there wasn't all the cheating and the voter rolls were cleaned up and we didn't have mail-in ballots, we would win. I'm like, well, Possibly. It's really hard to say because there's so many variables with the candidates and the timing and the this and the that and the money. But if you're just relying on just this as one access to win an election, I think you're going to come up short. Personal opinion. Texans also challenged a registration in 4 other ways. Provide evidence of a voter's death, a felony conviction, a legal declaration of mental incapacitation, or have a voter submit a signed letter requesting their removal from the rolls. Okay, so there's 4 ways you can remove somebody from the rolls. Let's see. The Republican National Committee and the Trump campaign claim to have secured over 150,000 poll watchers and workers nationwide in anticipation for the potential voting center issues. There are many more people working now to secure our elections than in 2020. Thank God. If we have trustworthy, trained people at every polling location, we will have a fair election. If we don't, we won't. And we need everybody to show up to the polls to vote so we have a fair election. Couldn't agree more. And I will just say in Dallas County, it's been very cool. Pretty much all of our election judges spots has been filled. We're still looking for a few more. And we have tons of poll watchers, tons of clerk workers. Like I said, that's not how it was in 2020. That's at all. Precinct chairs are being filled up. We got voter registration drives. It is great to be a Republican right now. It's only going to get better because we're just reshaping the party in our image. So that's what's up. All right, more polls show doom for Kamala Harris. I will say also, just like following the stock market for the day, this is fun to watch. This is very clickbaity. But ultimately, again, this is more of an art and not a science, and it is a prediction. And if everything is inside the margin of error, there's no fucking way of knowing who, what, and this pollster's never wrong. That pollster's never wrong. And it's like, except in 2016 when blah, 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 or except when blah, 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 blah. And like they have like 2 or 3 exceptions over the last, 10 presidential side. I'm like, well, hold on. That means you're wrong like 20 or 30% of the time. What the fuck are you talking about? Anyways, I just like poking holes. Polls spell doom for Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris November. So here's the gist of all this shit. Pretty much, she's gonna win the popular vote. Okay, that's pretty much that's pretty much not going to ever happen for Republicans, especially considering that most people from large cities are liberal, and that is where the mind virus spreads very, very rapidly. And that's where they have the mail-in ballots. They have more open polling as well. And so there's a lot of pressure inside of the cities for people to vote. Someone had said this like last week. I got to get the guy's name, but it had never been brought up. I've never heard it. And I think it's one of the most important part of this mail-in ballot issue. The issue that he brought forward that I 100% agree with at this point is when you go into a voting booth, you get the ballot, at least outside of the primary. You walk in for a primary, you got to say if you're going to vote in the Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever. Right? But now we're talking about the general election. Everyone gets a blank ballot with essentially the same people on it. Obviously, it gets different as you get into different districts. But essentially, you have Trump and Harris at the top. Everyone in America is going to have Trump and Harris at the top of their ballot. Okay, let's just say that. You walk into your voting booth, no one knows how you're voting. No one can see how you're voting. There should be no pressure. There is no pressure. Me as an election judge, I cannot pressure anybody. I can't press the buttons for them. Okay. Well, technically I can. I have to sign a thing for them. But anyways, I digress. Again, I'm trying to stay on point here. There's no pressure in the poll. There's no pressure in the polling booth. You walk over, you drop it in the tabulator, it drops into a box. Okay, cool. Mail-in voting. Everyone gets mailed a ballot. Now you have, they know the ballot harvesters. In some states, this is very legal. This is very legal. You can do it. The teams go out. They know when these things are mailed out. They knock on your door. Hey, are you planning on voting? Or hey, we just mailed out the ballots. Why don't you just fill that out right now and sign it? I'll take it in for you. Or why don't you just sign that right now? I'll fill it out for you. Or why don't you just give me that ballot? Well, I mean, I was planning on voting on election. Oh no, don't. Like you got, you gotta get your kids after school. You got to go here. You got to go there, and all those things are true. You do have to do all those things in life, right? And you have an election day. You have 2 weeks of early voting, and some of these states, and a lot of swing states as well, you have mail-in voting. When someone's standing at your door saying, "Give me your ballot," whether they just take it and you fill it out and sign it or not, that is pressure. Okay, this is manipulation. It's manipulation by ballot harvesters that knock on your door. It is manipulation by your family members as well. That is another thing that people aren't considering here, that your family members can pressure you into voting certain ways. It would not be fair. Obviously, I'm a right-leaning guy. Surprise! That's why you're here. It would not be fair if everyone in my family got a ballot and I said, all right, come on, guys, we're going to fill out our ballots in the living room together. That would not be okay. No one would agree that's okay. And all this talk of, from the left of like, it's like, oh, some women, women getting pressured into voting some ways due to their husband or doing this and doing that. And, and voter intimidation and all these things. Like, no, this is the biggest issue facing our country if you want to talk about voter intimidation, is mailing someone a ballot and then having someone else follow up with them on giving them your ballot. This needs to get rid of. That's what I'm getting at. That's where I got off on this tangent. If you take away those mechanisms, the national vote actually gets a lot closer. I'm not saying that Trump wins it. I'm not saying Republicans win it. I'm saying that it gets a lot closer. It's not going to be the bullshit 82 million number versus 75 million. It's going to be a lot closer than that, which has a huge impact going down into the House and Senate races. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. This country is not properly reflected inside the House, inside the Senate, and the presidency. This is not a 50-50 country. This is like a 70-30 country leaning right. It's just the Republican Party has been asleep at the wheel since the 60s. So grab a coffee and wake the fuck up. If it's Pennsylvania, it's the ball game. This is Nate Silver. This is one of the guys that has a great prediction model. Cool. Let's check it out. Let's read about it. This is kind of the people that I like to listen to. This is the people that they're referring to. They brought on some other people that talk about this stuff. However, their models seem to be flawed to some extent. I mean, this is such a wild time to be alive. Like, I obviously I don't know my parents' exact experiences, but like, did they ever experience all this shit, man? I got tightness across my chest like all the fucking time. Like I'm in high school, economic world collapse, all these different wars. We have an infectious disease that we thought was going to kill 10% of everyone, and then it turned out to be man-made, and then they wanted to fucking pump you full of a vaccine they didn't know anything about. Now they're trying to back away from it. Now they're trying to memory hole you and tell you, no, we weren't trying to lock you down. We weren't trying to, no. And no, we never said that thing that we were trying to give you or really forced to give you, because if you don't, you're going to lose your job. You're not going to be able to go outside. You're not going to be able to fly. You're not going to be able to buy anything at the store. You want old people to die. We never said that. And you know you did. And if you're listening to this, you know you had friends and family that did. Right? And a lot of them stopped talking to you because they were like, holy fuck. They know that they did that. They know that they did that to you. Never forget, that is how, well, I won't even say that. Okay. I think I'd buy a bull case for Harris a bit more if she hadn't rehired so many of the Biden people. So she really didn't have a choice in the matter. She wasn't ready for a presidential campaign. Presidential campaigns are 2+ years long. You're building a team over time. She had to just take his team and go with it. Now, I will say, Brat Summer, it's been pretty good, but it's fallen off quick. Did you guys hear that? Yeah. We've got some nice cars around here. No, they're actually like little Honda lowered shit boxes, and I really wish they would not re-register. There's a huge surge of enthusiasm post-Biden dropout that might have happened no matter what. The convention speech was good, but bypassing Shapiro beginning to look bad if they weren't already the second gear. Okay, so they passed up on Shapiro, the very, very popular Democratic governor of Pennsylvania. They picked Waltz. They thought he was going to somehow bond with people in the Midwest, and men, generally speaking, is what they were trying to do. He's a coach. He likes sports. Man, I don't think that. I don't think a lot of dudes that are like watching football right now look at that guy and think, I want to have a beer with him. I just don't see that at all, right? I don't have 20 people over to watch the game or anything, but god damn, dude, like that guy, once you get to look at him and you see his mannerisms and stuff, you're like, nah, I mean, he seems like a nice guy, but he's kind of fucking weird. Okay, so at this point, Republicans took back a narrow lead on enthusiasm. Okay, interesting. Now, this is one thing I gotta keep bringing this up, man. So here are the polls. We got Trump 45, Harris 44, RFK 5. RFK is no longer in this race, and he endorsed Trump. So now how are the polls neck and neck, right? RFK had a straight line to his voters through X, through social media. He talked to them through podcast. These people listened. They were well-informed. RFK voters are well-informed. They're smart people. I have not met too many voters that were voting for RFK that I thought were stupid. Or not even stupid, but like they just didn't get it. Like I meet plenty of Democratic and Republican voters alike that are just like, oh, I'm Republican, I'm Democrat. Okay, cool. But what are you about? And that's like kind of where it goes blank. I haven't met any RFK voters that didn't know what they were about. And they really like RFK, and RFK has made a case to them why they should vote for Donald Trump. And it's not showing up in the polling, which immediate red flag makes me think those polls are bullshit. I'm not saying all 5% is going to Trump, but I gotta think it's at least 3.5. Let's just say 3. Why is it not showing up in the polls? There's a little something to think about. In addition to Pennsylvania, Michigan has become something of an issue for Harris. National polls in other swing states mostly decent for Harris, but erosion in PA and Michigan hurts a lot in the model. So her biggest thing is Pennsylvania. If she doesn't win Pennsylvania, the map gets really freaking weird for her. Do we want to do that? All right, let's do it. NBC election map. Oh, that's at the top. They already know we want to play with it. Okay. Oh no. Here we go. All right. So 2020. This was a map. Remember they stole it here and here and here. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, I need to move my face a little bit. There we go. Yeah. So yeah, pretty much it should have been like that. Maybe even that. Wow. Okay. Let's not just Karnacki election tie. So there's a way on this map where all of a sudden it's a tie and it's like all these states grab all their guns. No, just kidding. We're not going to do that. No, that's not going to happen. Okay, so let's see what else they got over here. Direct path to the White House would be 270. where again, it's about Pennsylvania. She would have to take all the electorates up here, which I think. He didn't win one up there. I thought he had won one up there, in 2020. No, he didn't. Okay, whatever. We're on 2024, guys. All right. Now, Virginia, although it does show, man, he won it by 10 points. Apparently, Virginia's in play, man. I'm telling you, Virginia. They had the Republican governor, the RNC, the GOP out there is really doing the voter registration drive. They got some good candidates, but we'll leave it for this model. Georgia is 0.3% in Georgia. You know it. Whatever. 0.3% in Arizona. 2.4% percentage in Nevada. This goes back to the election integrity thing. That state at that point, so many people had left for COVID, who either did a mail-in ballot or I believe voted in the places that they moved to, because they moved in like March, April, May out of Nevada because of the shutdowns. They're in a different state. They probably registered. Their mail-in ballot gets requested or mailed to them. Anyways, apparently Republicans are doing really good out there. Okay, maybe. Here's the deal. After that, he doesn't need Michigan, doesn't need Wisconsin. Love the people in Wisconsin. And does he need North Carolina? He doesn't even need North Carolina. But it really does feel like North Carolina is not even in play, right? And so, I mean, Pennsylvania, what if she gets these two? I must have done something to the map. This is blue. Yeah. Huh. Trump's got a really good lineup here. I'm telling you. I just wish we had more time. I really do. With more time, it's not about making the case anymore to the voters. I just wish Trump would stop trying to argue the case, and we would just spend the money and the time and the effort to get out the vote, get the party active, okay? Because apparently Kamala's not making a case for anything. She's not making a case for anything. She's being quiet and trying to let the media make a case for her, which is a really smart thing to do. She really should do that. What if he wins like one up in Maine? Now, isn't this split though? Isn't one of the Kansas split somehow? Maybe that changed. Anyways, but like you can get one of these up in Maine. Oh yeah. Here you go. Hold on. You can go Maine. Yeah. You can go like that. Blue. There you go. Usually he gets like 2, right? Something like that. It's so close. But really it's all about Pennsylvania. It's all about Pennsylvania. None of these other states are really up for that much grabs. I don't think that this game that we're playing, and again, it's a game. It's not about winning the argument. It's about getting as many names into a box that are written on a piece of paper as possible. That's what this game is about at this point, okay? Everyone is not showing up to this game to play it in the sense of a fair and honest game, in the sense of, yeah, let's all let's all play chess, or let's all play Monopoly or whatever. Like, there is the amount of workarounds of these rules and manipulation and lawfare is really disgusting. Yeah, that's the board for Mr. Trump. Now, let's look at something that is very interesting to me about how the people are splitting on this, and it's along gender gaps, and I really think this is going to play a huge role. And I said it earlier about young men and how dangerous it is without the government providing an environment in which young men can thrive. For young men to thrive, they need women and they need upward mobility with their jobs and opportunities. Let's hear about how they're breaking as far as voting goes.
And you saw that somewhat in your polls. There's also a big gender gap in Pennsylvania, and your data shows that as well. And I think this is emblematic of all of the closed states. We've got to win women by more than we lose men. That's really the formula for success. And there are two parts to that. And Anne is an expert on this, but it's real whack-a-mole. You know, you got to keep men sullen but not mutinous, and you got to win women enthusiastically. And then the turnout of African American votes is always.
What? What did you just say? Let's listen again.
Parts to that. And Anne is an expert on this, but it's real whack-a-mole. You know, you got to keep men sullen but not mutinous, and you got to win women enthusiastically.
It's a real whack-a-mole. You got to keep men sullen but not mutinous, and you got to win women over enthusiastically. Okay, so you want to beat us into suppression, but not to the point where we have a fucking mutiny. But and then you just win over women enthusiastically. Wow. Holy shit. That is a hell of a strategy. Ha ha ha. And like, look at these three other cucks that are just sitting here. They're like, wait, what? Now, I should take that back. I don't know if they're all with the Harris campaign or what these people's views are. They could be, they could be on the other side, come to kind of debate. I didn't watch the whole thing. So I take that back, actually. That's an unnecessary comment. And this kind of goes into the Kamala Harris dudes, white dudes for Kamala, which was so cringe. They just deleted it. They're like, no, we can't do this shit anymore.
Hey, sweetie. Why don't you bring that juicy ass over here and hop in Daddy's new whip?
Excuse me?
He's talking to me.
Oh my gosh, white dudes Kamala. It turned out to be a bunch of gay dudes. That's what it ended up being. It was like people that were already gonna vote for her. And that was like their big pitch on like, okay, how are we going to get white dudes? How are we going to get men to vote for not even just Kamala, just on the left? Well, when you demonize us and say that we're the problem for everything, and because we're the least intersectional people that you see on the face of this planet, what the fuck did you want us to do? I mean, honestly, there's nothing else for us to do. There's nothing else for young men to do. They don't have a place at your table. They show up to events. The speeches are about white men sucking, right? Everyone looks down on them. Every book they read, it's just pissing all over them. So I'm saying, hey, come on over here, bro. I think you're cool. I like you. Fuck, I like me, It's a really sad situation, and the rhetoric. It is what they believe. Don't put it past yourself that they don't believe that. They do believe the racial ideology, the intersectionality, all that. That is the makeup of their party now, and because they thought that was going to win, but now they're seeing that coalition doesn't really mesh under scrutiny. That was the Obama coalition: highly educated white women, a certain percentage of the African vote, Hispanics. But let me tell you something. Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, they ain't fucking Obama, right? And we're in a whole different arena now with social media. Direct path through the Great Lakes, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. GOP is on the ground, registering people to vote, clean up voter rolls, everything. Precinct chair strategy all the way. It's been the same in every election since 1992, 32 years, and all but one time, 2016, it was for the Democrats. Even before Harris subbed for Biden, subbed, no, it was coup d'etat. You have a error there in BC. Polling showed a Democratic ticket faring better in these 3 states than the Sun Belt battlegrounds. And they're part of Trump's polling gain this year have to come younger and non-white, especially Hispanic voters who are less abundant in these states. So there it is again. This is a whole different fucking page. This is part of Trump's polling gains this year have come from younger, non-white, especially Hispanic voters who are less abundant in these states. So they're actually saying the opposite. They're saying that, let me see, even before Harris subbed in for Biden, polling showed Democratic tickets faring better in these 3 states than the Sun Belt battleground states. This is because Trump's polling gains this year have come from younger and non-white, especially Hispanic voters. So I guess they're saying he's polling well with Hispanic voters. Interesting. Yes. Well, the Rio Grande Valley definitely shows you that. They had several seats flip over to red, tons of local and county officials. All Harris has to do is hold on to this ratio and avoid any surprises anywhere else, and she'll have the 270 electoral votes she needs. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think he definitely picks up Pennsylvania. I just don't see the math working out for them for that. Maybe Michigan. I see Wisconsin going blue, but that's just going to take time. And really that's on the GOP. They have not made a good case, a very overwhelmingly strong case to why an America First agenda is good for union workers. They have not done that. Donald Trump really needs to go back to the Bernie Sanders motto, some of his stances. 4 million Bernie Sanders voters who voted for him in the primary voted for Donald Trump in the election, and those voters got him over the top barely in 2016. Most of the year, Trump has been running strong Georgia and Arizona. Then in the northern battleground states, this is due to part of the strides he's made with non-white voters, especially younger Latinas. Since entering the race, Harris has gained ground with these voters, potentially opening up the Sun Belt path to her. Still, takes very little for Trump to flip Georgia. He lost by just under 12,000 votes. And remember that perfect conversation he had. Absolutely nothing wrong with that conversation. There was... anybody could probably go through that stack of paper and find some issues with those ballots. Like, oh yeah, we checked those ballots. Well, there was like 100,000. You did them in X amount of minutes. Like, that's 3 seconds per ballot. You really looked at those? Yes. No judge is going to touch that. No judge is going to touch that shit. If he does that and doesn't have a hiccup in North Carolina, all Trump would need to do is really need to win Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Of those 3, the closest in 2020 was Wisconsin, which Trump lost by 20,000. So this is like a different little model that they have there, which again is pretty fun to play with. I can mess with this all day. I don't know about you guys, but he wins like that. Did I mess something up? He's not getting 2 in New England. This is Nebraska. Yeah, I don't know what they're talking. Georgia and North Carolina, I feel like are in the bag. Even if it's Arizona, what about that? No. No, not even that. For her. Interesting. Well, we'll see how all that plays out. That's fun. Hey guys, I appreciate you checking out the video. Please like and subscribe below. I will be cutting this up so you can get a little shorter segments on my YouTube channel here, and check out the shorts. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.